Hey guys, we're going to do a reading and we're actually going to do a part two. I want to kind of read once again on the Charlie Kirk case situation. Now, when I did the reading, this is before the Tyler person was caught. There are some things there. Now, it's kind of funny also, and the answer when somebody would be caught was right in front of me. When I rolled the dice, I rolled 10 twice, and it happened on 910. But number 12 was on the dice as well, and he was caught on the 12th. And it was like, I thought maybe he would be caught. I knew somebody would be caught, but I thought maybe October, but actually 12 was right in my face. So that was my misstep. But there are certain things that were in my reading, and that when I was reading it and what we're actually seeing, things are not making sense to me. When I did the reading, I was like, the person who did this is military. Some kind of military training. Okay, some kind of expertise. I did feel there was some rage there. I did pull from my crime deck, and we're going to pull again. We're going to look again. But there was some kind of military training. Tyler has never been in the military. Now, he did have a police officer father, but he's never been military. Okay. There's some other things. There's things coming out, and there's YouTubes, and there's a lot of Candace Owens. Okay. And I've kind of looked at that. She's definitely on a mission. And I can understand that because she was very close to him at one time. And though apparently I don't know what is going on with them. Like, she wasn't at the big memorial and stuff like that. Maybe there's some weird stuff with her in Turning Point, I guess. But she has provided some receipts, and she's doing a very serious investigation, and there's some receipts of Charlie Kirk talking about breaking away from like Israel donors. They've been authenticated that was actually him in these text messages. You may have seen that if you're looking at this. And it is kind of strange and a little sketch. Why does Netanyahu need to go on video and say we had nothing to do with it? You know what I'm saying? Okay, it's weird. Now, the text messages, I've already done a video on it, and I told you guys, I don't believe them. I believe they threw something maybe in a chat GPT or something like that, because nobody does this. Nobody is going to do a big old thing, and I don't want to, I want this to, stay with me till I'm an old man. Okay, like these text messages say, but yet I give up the entire game in a text message. Which anybody, if they have any kind of fucking smarts, would not lay out every single detail of something like this in a text message. And then, of course, we got, it's supposedly there's a trans thing and it's libs. Okay. When we clearly have photos of Tyler with some groiper kind of stuff. Okay. Seems like he was more into that stuff than, left type stuff. Okay. So the narrative doesn't fit. But certain things are coming up that maybe Charlie Kirk, he has a big organization. He has a lot of influence over the young conservative youth. And he's having a kind of a falling out. He had his one Turning Point expose. He had Tucker Carlson. There was speaking out about Trump things and Gaza, and making America first, not engaging in these wars. There were some things there that maybe upset the boat. and maybe he was starting to get away. It looks like he was starting to get away from some things, but there is still some things there when I've kind of looked at things Charlie Kirk has said, and what was also said in the text messages. Okay, so if people are donating to you, then you're going to be a voice for those people. But if they pull back their funding, you're not going to be a voice for those people. That's, maybe where he started. Let's just say, regardless of what you feel and stuff, and even regardless of what I feel, because I put aside some of that because we're looking at the case. There could be, sometimes people maybe start with good intentions. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker at one time started with good intention, and good intentions, the road to hell, or road to, the road is paved with, road to hell is paved with good intentions. I'll say it, I'll figure it out. Okay, so maybe he really saw Christianity as something to heal families, that if more people would get a family, maybe his good intentions is the beginning, and then things got political, and then there's donors the bigger he got, and things got complicated, and then he also has to appeal to a certain base that has certain, maybe there's a little racism here, there's a little sexism there, there's a little misogyny here, and certain things changed. So maybe when he started, let me give him the benefit of the doubt, that maybe he wanted to, like people could find Christ, and it could be a good, powerful thing for them. But then there's some dirty things in there when you throw politics. And see, this is why we need separation of church and state, guys. Because when politics infiltrates a religion, it gets dirty. We need it separate and everything. And because it becomes corrupt. The founding fathers knew that. They weren't against religion, though a lot of them were deists. They weren't against it. People should be able to be free to practice whatever religion they want, but and keep the government out of it. But if you do this with the two, it gets yucky. Okay, and me as a spiritualist, I know that as well. If we could have peace and respect others and learn from other cultures and religion, the world would be a much better place. But once you put politics in religion, like this Christian nationalism, once you try to say, let's impose religion in government, or even bring the government into the churches so the pastors are a mouthpiece of it. And unfortunately that started, that happened with Charlie Kirk, and it got yucky. But maybe there's some moments of having a conscience, okay, here and there, that he started seeing the writing on the wall. Like the bigger you get, the more organized, the more, these, political campaigns come in and they want you to root for them and stuff. It gets messy. And where's Christ anymore? Where's being a follower of Christ here? And stuff. And it might be like grasping, really trying to retain that energy, but really all of it is you are campaigning for people, and you're using Christianity, for these things, and here we are now. Okay, so as I say that, I know my reading said the person, whoever did this, there's a military energy there. And this kid is not. And then there's the other thing that really bothers me. It's like one shot. One. And also the weapon used should have been more, I mean, it should, there would have been no head there. What if this is the weapon? Okay, how is it, you know, and everything? And then apparently there are people saying, you know, the back, you know, behind there's no blood and all. And then he has magic Superman bones. Magic Superman bones with a weapon like that. A weapon that's used to take out big game. And then, of course, there is we all saw it, you know, if you guys have paid attention, all these people taking down the cameras right after it happened. I mean, the audience is scrambling, everybody's going, getting for cover, they don't know what's going on, and cameras immediately. That's their first thought. Oh, it's sketchy. Let's go ahead and look at it. I'm just not buying that it's just a lone shooter with a trans roommate. Okay, so we're going to go to the crime deck first. Let's look again. In the future, the killer may admit guilt. So the thing is, no, obviously Tyler is quiet, not cooperative is what I've heard before. But would someone possibly do that? That's very interesting. But I just am having a hard time with this kid. The killer is out of the area. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So we've got a couple things here. Killer is out of the area. Okay. Well, he apparently was there. So this makes me feel details leading up to the murder may be worth investigating. Candace Owens is providing text, and apparently there is possibly saying that 24 hours before this happened, Charlie Kirk was talking about he was worried for his own life, that there were statements made, more may be coming. Okay, so these text messages are important, and anything else leading to that. But this is interesting. The killer is out of the area. Okay, so we know Tyler is locked up in Utah. Okay, right? Well, this says the killer is out of the area, which makes me question this kid. Is he a fall guy? The murder weapon used will provide valuable clues and stuff. But is what was recovered actually the weapon? Now, of course, the victim didn't know the killer. No surprise there. Okay, all right. So that's, it's not a personal thing. And one more. Money may have been involved. Now, let me come up for that. That was in read 1. That was in read 1. I felt that there was something. Somebody got paid. Whoever did this, it's one shot. That's it. And money came up in the last one. Okay. So I'm just, and you think, if money is involved, they're going to pay, let's get this 22-year-old kid in Utah. Okay. I'm not buying it, guys. You see that? Killer is out of the area. Whoever did this, I'm not feeling this, that Tyler kid. All right, let's look at the cards, see what they say. What do you want to say about it, Spirit? I'm just not buying it. He's that good at his age without military training. Maybe his dad taught him a few things, but I'm not buying it. And stuff. Let's see. 90 Cups. That makes me feel Charlie Kirk. That fuels him, his energy. There's a lot of secrets. A high priestess can be about secrets. The veil. There are certain things. There's a lot of... Oh, yeah. There's a lot of that. No doubt. And stuff. So, as I see the Temperance card here, planning. Okay, this is not a spur of the moment thing. This is something a long time coming here. Okay, it's there's some energy there. Like the text, the fake text. Okay, let's just say it. Okay, the fake text with Tyler and this roommate. Like, oh yeah, about a week ago I decided to do this, right? No, this is more. And Temperance says no. This is a long time planned. Okay, And what I think, now I'm kind of tuning into the energy and stuff, is what sparked it is not the text messages that were 48 hours before the death, but the turning point episode, the thing where they had Tucker on, this, that, they upset some people and stuff. There was some things there. There was some discussions. There was some heat. Okay, when that, and that was before, I can't remember exactly when, but I remember seeing some of that on YouTube. Tucker's on there, and then, what is it, Megyn Kelly and some others are kind of talking on there, and they're not real positive about the Republican Party and things like that. Okay, they're kind of speaking out a little bit different and everything. So, as I've got that, and then we've got that hermit energy, so it does make me feel a lone person. But we've got some like long shots, maybe someone on a building, but didn't really come from that building. Okay, so there are some things there and stuff like that. Now, the Ace of Cups, I feel like there's been a lot of support, pouring out for Charlie Kirk, the family. A lot of Christian people are affected. There's, and yes, there's, of course, but even people that maybe, they might even be on the left. Let's just put it that way. They still hate what happened. They feel for the family, and everything. He's still, let's remember, he's still a father, he's still a husband, and various things. And this shit should not happen in America. Okay? It should not happen in America and stuff. And there's a lot of sorrow, of course, a lot of pain with this and stuff and everything. And yeah, so, as I'm kind of tuning in here, I'm going to have to go back myself. Whenever that turning point episode happened, Virgo energy is popping up in here. We know a lot of things went down, obviously September and everything like that. Now let's kind of go ahead and see and stuff. Now this is interesting. We've got the Ten of Cups energy popping up in there. Now I feel what Spirit is saying, because it can be a house, a home, a family life. That's kind of what he stood for, is for, the family, and I know we could debate. There's a lot of things, if I sat down with Charlie Kirk, I would battle him on, but obviously he's about family values and things like that. But, it really got corrupt and stuff. There's a lot of oppression. There were people trying to oppress and everything like that. He's trying to do one thing. He wants to be about, the family, trying to get everybody, marriage, kids, and all that, Christian and everything. But, people were oppressing him and putting pressure on. Okay, let's see. And we've also got the mourning, the disappointment and things. But we also have people kind of rising up and taking over. Let's look at his position. Yeah, he was dealing with the devil energy. Definitely there, that negativity that was coming after him. It's up some, Israel energy there, okay? We're kind of looking at news and communication. He's had some heated communication with some of this energy here, okay? So there's some communication that we're not privy to, that he's talked to. Some higher-ups that were trying, to get him to give a certain message and stuff. And this is, it's a shot heard around the world with the universe. Now, I want to tune in, though, and stuff. And I also see that love card and everything popping up. That did also pop in the other. I think of, like, him, his wife, and everything like that. What's overlapping that and stuff? So I kind of look at this Fool card popping up. This makes me feel the actual person and everything, kind of just leaping in and doing something kind of drastic and stuff like that. I wonder if we will find, I feel like we might have a revelation when we get into Sagittarius month, on that. I feel there's more to this, guys, and stuff like that. And the wife, I feel the Queen of Wands is Erica, the wife. She's been real quiet about any kind of other things. She said she forgives the person. There's some strange things here and stuff. Princess of Wands energy is popping up. That actually makes me feel Candace Owens. She's spearheading a lot of this energy, and it's debauch, exposing the corruption. There is a shooter, but I feel, like I said, it's tuning in more and stuff, you know, and I know I had that military energy. It does feel a lone person that day. But looking at everything with the crime debt combined with this, somebody was paid, guys. It came up in read 1 and it comes up in read 2. It also says the killer is out of the area. Okay? Out of the area, Tyler's locked up in Utah. Okay? So whoever did this, I really don't feel somehow he's willing to be a fall guy or some shit. Okay, you know, can't explain that. That's weird. Okay, but you know, I'm not buying that he's, jump a building, disassemble, reassemble, do this. He could pull off that. A weapon that takes down big game and should have made a real big mess and stuff like that. Tearing down cameras immediately and all that. There is so much more than that. And everything. And yeah, the Seven of Cups really says it. Just a botch. Corruption. Okay. Certain things with Turning Point itself were getting polluted and stuff. To the point it wasn't Charlie Kirk's own org anymore. And it looks like he was maybe wanting to like get away from some of that corruption and everything. And as soon as, but I feel the real turning point, you could say, is when, he had the one episode. That's when the planning, because the Temperance card is not a spur of the moment move here. That's a planning, patience, waiting out for the right moment type of card and stuff. So I feel plans were in the works for this event and stuff, going back to that event when he had Tucker and Megyn Kelly and all them speaking out and pissed off some people, and when tried to like turn it back and do all this stuff, he wasn't bowing down. And that's what I think. So is the person, I think we got a patsy in there, guys. I think we got a patsy. I feel like more revelations will come up more. Let's see if not September, sorry, Sagittarius month. Do we roll it? Yeah, so it could be December, December to January, we might see something evolve and stuff. Some kind of, we're already getting some revelations and things like that. I noticed it got real quiet about Tyler. They're not, it just got real quiet and stuff like that. Yeah, it's sketchy, guys. It's real sketchy. I'm not buying it. I feel we got a patsy that's locked up because it says the killer's out of the area. Okay, normally my cards are on. And I feel a military presence there, like somebody trained. Okay, trained and stuff. Because usually if there's some young, flipped out, whatever, they spray the place. They don't do it like that. All right, hope this helps.